His question. He mentioned having a definition and having it be governmental, and Mr. Cuccinelli, you responded, yeah, you thought maybe just Cuba and Venezuela. Do you think the law permits the president to define asylum that way now and just say Cuba and Venezuela, they'll still have to be vetted, but nobody else is basically eligible because there is no systemic governmental persecution?
I do think the authority, the regulatory authority for the implementation of asylum exists to do that. I would note that the State Department has been historically wildly uncooperative in doing anything of that nature.
Senator Ernst.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. So I'd like to paint a little bit of a picture for everyone. We have already purchased border wall materials. Okay, lots of border wall materials. And they were basically abandoned by the Biden administration. And so they're just sitting in Arizona and other places unused, and they're collecting dust in the desert. But here's kind of the kicker for everyone is that they're not just sitting there. They're actually protected by a fence. So if anybody sees the irony in that, I do, and I actually saw it personally. So yeah, the administration did everything with these materials except actually build a wall. So we're talking about $250 million worth of materials that were purchased. They are paid for, and they could have bolstered our security, but instead we've just left them there to waste. And every month, and this is to add insult to injury, every month the Army Corps of Engineers spends $160,000 to store these materials. 20,822 unused panels. So these materials were eventually auctioned off by the Biden administration, and those that purchased the materials paid pennies on the dollar to buy those items, and that's a huge loss for our taxpayers. So, Mr. Cuccinelli, why don't we start with you, please? Can you talk about the role that physical barriers play in securing our border and the message that it's sending to the cartels and other bad or illicit groups when the federal government just leaves these materials unused, they're rusting away in the desert, and how we should be thinking about border barriers in the future with the incoming Trump administration?
So thank you, Senator, for that question. First of all, the intentional abandonment of the border wall materials was part of the open borders policy and narrative. It was a visual part of that narrative. And unfortunately, it was effective in inviting people from all over the world to come across our border. We saw the numbers in the last 4 years on one of the charts. They exploded, absolutely exploded. And because it isn't just our hemisphere so overwhelmingly any longer, we have massively complicated every aspect of dealing with those illegal immigrants. The border barriers work when the political will is behind those barriers to actually protect immigration law. The barrier itself, however tall you make it, people can get over. And if they get over and know they can stay, you might as well not put it up in the first place. But I will say that putting those barriers up strategically, intelligently, helps keep your Border Patrol agents safer. It helps them manage the illegal flows in ways that are more predictable, and thus they can respond to them better. You get more efficiency in your law enforcement, and you get more safety. And I know that's important to you and everyone on this committee. All of those folks are safer when they have the wall, when they have the road behind the wall, when the lights and the technology are in place that allow detection to take place out at a distance and allow your Border Patrol agents to respond effectively, efficiently, and not in a harried, last-minute sort of manner. They're safer and more effective.
Yes, thank you very much. And eons ago, I served as a military engineer, and part of the role of military engineers is to physically shape the battlefield. and direct the flow of the enemy. I'm not saying that everyone coming to the border is an enemy, but you understand the illustration there. Yes, Mr. Arthur.
Senator Ernst, if I could, one, I'd note the fact that you and 39 of your colleagues sent a letter to the Comptroller General in March of 2021 about this. I disagree with the Comptroller General's opinion about the Impoundment Act. I think it was an impoundment. But the more important part of that is when we talk about the border wall, we talk about the border wall system. It's the wall and the roads and the lights and the fiber optic cable. When you're out in the middle of the desert, when you're far away from civilization, where much of the border is, Border Patrol agents can't just pull out their phone and use the, use cells because there's no cell tower. That fiber optic cable would have enabled them to actually communicate. When President Biden shut down the border wall system, he stopped the cable. The lights sit unhooked up. We literally leave our agents in the dark, blind, because we don't have those things. The quicker we can get that up and running, the better, the safer it's going to be for everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much. I yield back. Thank you.